welcome to VistaTalks, interesting discussions with interesting people from all around the world. I'm your host for today, Priscillia Charles, and today I'm delighted to be joined in Studio 2 by our very own Thomas Murray. Thomas is CEO of Vistatec. You're very welcome.
Thanks, I'm delighted to be here, Priscillia. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for being on. So let's move on and get on to the show. I'd like to jump right into our discussion by discussing the upcoming Think Global Forum Summit Week that is taking place from March the 8th to the 12th of 2021. You'll be delivering the opening address for that virtual event, and numerous global brands obviously will be in attendance for what will obviously be a fantastic event. Do you think that this particular event will be unique, and what are you looking forward to?
Well, I think it will be quite different in that, well, firstly, it's going to run over 5 days, which is a little unusual for these forums, but I suppose that's largely driven by the current circumstances. For me, I'm actually really looking forward to listening to Mel McVeigh from Condé Nast. I think that could be quite interesting, particularly given the sphere that they operate in. And also, I believe we have Mark Pollock to give a masterclass, which again, I'm very interested to listen to that particular piece. I think it'll be very motivational and very interesting, a different perspective on life perhaps for some of us. So I am really looking forward to it.
I am looking forward to it very much, and I'm sure all of our guests will as well. And on the Think Global Forum as well, I just wanted to touch on the fact that you are one of the Think Global Forum ambassadors, of course, and you've been involved with the organization and attending many of its events since the launch in 2016, some of its opening addresses, of course. So how important is it, in your opinion, to offer such a community and a platform of experts for all the C-level executives that, from all these world's biggest brands that are, to meet and exchange ideas and discuss all the challenges and opportunities that are, presenting to them?
Well, I suppose, Priscillia, if I'm honest, I was somewhat skeptical at the early stages of the Think Global Forum initiative, and that's really no secret. However, I think by creating an environment where, industry players can come together and exchange ideas, there was always some concern, that perhaps people may be a little bit proprietorial and they may be a little bit concerned about discussing their own particular strategies or challenges. However, nothing could be further from the truth. The forums have provided a very healthy environment where ideas can be exchanged, and most importantly of all, where we can listen to the serious industry players and listen to their problems and challenges and see where they are going and what their expectations are. And in addition, we can feed back what our views and perspectives are across perhaps different verticals. But I think the sense of cooperation and collegiality that has come out of them has been most impressive, and not just in terms of the larger players that have participated. For me, I think one of the nicest things that I've seen out of it has been when we brought perhaps smaller startup organizations into the forums, and especially when we brought nonprofits in, and we could see that there was a willingness to help and support each other across not just the industries, but also the various types of organizations that we've seen participate. The momentum that has been built up over the years really is a testament to the commitment that the brand ambassadors and the participants have brought to the forum. I think people were, once they got started, I think they were gratified by the audience and by the openness with which they were greeted, and that has happened across all verticals. And as I say, it is something that we are very proud of at Vistatec and very proud of to sponsor and be involved in.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And speaking of the Think Global Forum, one of the other initiatives is obviously the Think Global Awards, and we've announced the latest shortlist for the 2021 awards, and the winners will be announced in April 2021 as well. So this as well has been a fantastic success, this year, and we've seen hundreds of individuals and organizations from all around the world applying. So how important is this initiatives in your opinion that involves obviously large organizations and the language industry, communities, non-profit organizations, startup, and a host of many other areas?
I think it's very important because I think it's important to call out, shall we say, exceptional behaviors or changes in direction. And it isn't always something that that gets recognized. But I think one of the most important aspects of it is the way that the awards are won. They are peer related. So it is your peers acknowledging your performance. And I think that adds great value to them. It's really, Vistatec, I suppose, works in the background of these things with the Think Global Forum to organize and manage it. But it is the industry out there that drives the nominees and drives the winners. And from that point of view, I think that makes it all the sweeter for the winners. And I'm not going to give anything away, so you'll just have to wait and come back when the results are out.
It's a surprise, yes, indeed. Thank you. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about the language industry that we mentioned. And about Vistatec, of course, that you're the CEO of. Global organizations, founded in 1997. And pre-pandemic, Vistatec had already had a large part of its staff working from all around the world. So do you think that it made it easier, when it comes to a smooth transition to working remotely? And can you also tell us, how maybe Vistatec remained agile during the last year?
I think perhaps it was somewhat easier for us as an organization and perhaps even as an industry to transition. I think our industry, in particular, Vistatec, was quite a dispersed organization. We had people and resources all around the world in every time zone. And I think in some ways you might be able to interchange, the word remote and dispersed. So for us, the transition wasn't as seismic as perhaps it might have been for other organizations. It was quite smooth. And I think we had a team that were quite used to working, with dispersed and remote teams. So from that point of view, the move went very smoothly. But I would have to say, in a large part, down to the cooperation of the teams around the world. Like I take my hat off to them. Like we just basically flicked a switch and we went 100% remote. And hats off to the team. They really were fully bought in and participated wonderfully. So from that point of view, I think a large part of it is down to the staff. In terms of the agility, well, I've said before, that the requirements for agility within our industry are really only limited by the demands of our customers, and they are quite strong. So as an organization, we have always been driven by agility. And, this particular set of circumstances with the pandemic did bring different requirements on us, but the ability to react to a client's requirements quickly, regardless of the driver for those client requirements, has always been something that's been in the DNA of Vistatec. So the requirements that were driven by the pandemic, certainly we were able to deal with them quickly. And I think because we had a wider perspective across a number of industry verticals, we were ideally placed to help perhaps some of those organizations that weren't as far down the content curve as perhaps others. So I think we dealt with it very well, but again, down to the team and the experience that has been built up in Vistatec over 20 years at this stage.
It's true, yeah, over 20 years, 24 years?
Maybe, oh God, quite a while anyway.
A little while. And so we're talking about the language industry, the clients of Vistatec. So in the language industry, a lot of people obviously still refer to LSPs and localization and translation when they describe their businesses. But you've been speaking about the wider global content solutions and how Vistatec is a global content solutions provider for many years now. So can you maybe explain for our audience the Vistatec approach here?
Yeah, I think that the industry grew from, I suppose, what could be considered orthodox translation and localization of doc and manuals and so on. But we couldn't be further from that now than ever before. When we talk about content, it's not just doc, like it's every form and medium of communication out there. So the organization Vistatec has evolved a long way from its origins in terms of traditional or orthodox localization and translation. In fact, it's probably less than half of our business at this stage, but that's the nature of the industry and the demands that have been put on our customers in terms of the content, the type, the nature, the speed that's required out there. So, our organization has evolved massively, where from large, small projects, but primarily, I think we have moved towards probably the more higher end, perhaps, aspects of content generation and content creation and content review. So for us, it's been an evolution, but largely driven by the demands of our customers.
Okay. And we're talking about, Vistatec being agile and, differentiating itself from other organizations. Now, I'd like to talk about, Vistatec being highly regarded as being at the forefront of technology, development thanks to our applied technology group. Really, we can say Vistatec in one sense technology agnostic, and yet in another one also build bespoke client solutions. Can you tell me a little bit about this ATG group for the community?
Yeah, I think while the strategy that we have around technology is somewhat unique, that particular strategy arises from something quite different. I think, as an organization, when we approach a client or a client's problem, what we try and do is approach it from the point of view of helping the client to achieve their goals. Okay, so ultimately that's what we want to do. How we go about that is nothing to do, or doesn't start from the, what technologies are available. If a client wants to achieve X, what we try and work out is what is the best way to achieve X. And arising from that, we will look at it from a technology, from a process, from our structural point of view, and we will arrive at the best way to achieve that. So from that point of view, we don't particularly care which piece of technology or which piece of process or which piece of structure. Those things aren't preordained within Vistatec. What is preordained that we want to help the client achieve its goals. So, and following on from that, we arrive at a technology solution. Now, naturally, as all clients' requirements will vary and be different, you will end up with different processes and different approaches and different technologies. So very early on, it was clear to us that we didn't and weren't going to arrive at a one-size-fits-all for our customers. So from a technology point of view, we will provide what we believe to be the best fit of technology for the requirements of any particular client, which results in Vistatec applying a wide variety of technologies across a wide variety of clients. Again, all bespoke, and those that we believe, and hopefully the client believes, are best suited to solve their problems. So the concept of technology agnosticism didn't arise out of a technology discussion within Vistatec. It arose from a discussion around what is the best way to help our clients achieve their goals. And arising from that, this concept of, I suppose, technology agnosticism arose, and then out of that we have the ATG group, which helps us implement those particular types of solutions.
And fantastic brands joining Vistatec.
Yes, yeah, I think that's certainly been a key win, I think, over the years for Vistatec. When we do engage with a client, it is in our DNA to stick with that client and to grow with them and evolve with them, both in terms of the commitment to the client, but also in terms of our technical ability to service their needs. And I think that's been well proven over the 20 plus years that we have been in business, that most of our clients have been with us for a very long time. And those of our newer customers are hugely impressed with the ATG team and with the flexibility that they offer. We don't, have something in terms of technology suite that we're trying to sell. That's not what we're about. What we do is we solve global content challenges for our customers, and that can be technical, linguistic, structural, process, whatever it is. But our aim is to provide the best solution, not a particular type of solution.
Thanks. And as CEO, you've commented in the past that it's not uncommon in that extremely complex challenges that international brands are faced with end up being solved by us. And obviously, we see more and more companies reaching out to us when they've exhausted other industry options. Can you tell us a little bit about this? Because we've mentioned the ATG, which obviously is an advantage and makes a difference. So what else can you tell us about why people come to this?
I think because there are certain principles, I think, that underpin how Vistatec works. Agility, professionalism. One of the things that I think is really important is integrity, and that's, I suppose, if you like, an overarching principle that I think is really important for everyone within Vistatec. it's absolutely clear from me to everybody in the organization that you must deal with all of your stakeholders, customers included, with integrity. If you ask a question of somebody in Vistatec, you will get a straight answer and you will get an honest answer and you will get a 110% commitment to achieve your goals. Those principles or those attitudes or that ethos that exists within Vistatec, I think is absolutely critical to the success of Vistatec. And that, I think, is attested to by the fact of the longevity of the customers that stay with us and the levels of commitment that we see from our staff and the number of years that they have worked with us. And I think that wider attitude to customer success and customer commitment, for me, from where I sit, is the ingredients and the building blocks of the success of our organization. And it's something that I'm very proud of.
And now I'd like to discuss the pandemic that that obviously has had a huge impact on many of us, psychologically, economically, and socially speaking. And so obviously even during the global pandemic, global content solutions continue to be a major requirement trend. And Vistatec has continued to grow as many customers coming on board, which is fantastic. So we've also experienced growth in existing customer business. While on one hand, we are fortunate not to be in a business sector that has been significantly impacted, we are also, helping many brands reach new markets and customers. So, which is, I would say, probably seen as critical at the moment, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think for a lot of customers, the pandemic changed their business paradigm. How they engaged with their customers, closed overnight in a lot of cases, particularly for the bricks and mortar side of the economy, and they suddenly found themselves in a situation where they had zero trade and they had to turn their business model on their heads. And that's where our experience can be brought to bear. And I think, as you say, we have had a very successful last year or so, and a lot of that is down to the fact that the pandemic did drive change within the global economies of how our customers engage with their customers. And that, that certainly was a positive for us, but we were able to help our customers engage in new ways. Now, some customers did suffer more than others, and, as best we can, we have facilitated those, but we would expect over time to see all of our customers return to previous levels of activity, if not more. But yes, it has been quite a trying time. And again, the successes that we have had again are down to the efforts of the team in Vistatec to help our customers and to drive on.
Thanks. And speaking of the pandemic, just to end this interview before we wrap up, you recently commented and said, that for many, 2020 has been a year, that none of us would have expected or, predicted at any level, of course. And you spoke also about these terms, in terms of societal and social level. So Vistatec has been supporting a number of charities throughout 2020 and continues to do so as we speak. How important is it, in your opinion, for Vistatec to give back and support the community?
I think it's hugely important. I think if we've learned anything from the pandemic, particularly at a societal level, we've seen that actually we are quite social creatures, and that isolation that the pandemic has brought has been quite tough on large sections of society, and it has impacted many people. And I think it is really incumbent and important on us to acknowledge those that have really gone the extra yard. Most particularly for Vistatec, we would have taken the view that we wanted to, I suppose, thank and acknowledge the efforts of frontline workers, and we have done that across relevant charities and directly in some cases to certain care centres as best we can. I think it is vitally important. We have been lucky in that our organisation has survived and thrived. We have been able to offer all of our staff, the ability to work from home or be flexible to a greater or lesser extent. That opportunity hasn't been there for everyone. So from a societal point of view, we have a responsibility to make sure that, those of us who have been lucky enough to continue have a responsibility perhaps to those that haven't. So the giving back part of it and the acknowledging the work of those frontline workers, I think, is really important. And, you know, it's something that we will continue to do.
Thanks. And finally, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience today before we end this interview?
Yeah, I suppose if I might just maybe step away from the business part for a moment, you mentioned, you know, that 2020 had been a most unusual year for all of us, and regrettably 2021 has started in the same vein. If I have any message for those people, or for people listening or watching, it would be, please adhere to the public health advice that we are being given. You know, the route out of this is to listen to the science and listen to the medical advice, and I would urge any and all people to adhere to the public advice that you're being given, and hopefully we'll come out of this and get back to some level of normality, be it whether it's totally normal or not. It will be better, and we just have to hold on to that thought and get through this.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm afraid it is already the end of today's show. So thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. And I'm sure our audience is really keen to listen or watch this episode. So thanks again. And we look forward to having you on the show again, Tom.
My pleasure, Priscillia. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So it's already the end of today's show with Thomas Murray, CEO of Vistatec. Please make sure to tune in again to listen or watch our next VistaTalks episode, where we'll be discussing interesting topics with interesting people from all around the world. Thank you.